Sword of Legends came out in June of last year, being originally a paid MMORPG focusing on Chinese mythology. Now, I've covered Sword of Legends Online leading up to its initial June 16th, 2021. Today's video will be focused on my first impressions, as the game is currently now free to play. Welcome Outcast to Chaotic Inc, and it's your host KSDTV, as I tell you guys about my first few hours running through this MMORPG. I have an entire complete series of all of my first impressions. If you want to check the playlist in the top right hand corner to see all of my other MMORPGs first impressions, then please do so. Now, I do have a couple categories I do want to cover over during my entire experience for my first, maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 hours of gameplay. Keep in mind, it's just the first impressions, not a review. So one thing I do want to talk about, or the first of this list, is the actual story of Sword of Legends Online. Now, to be honest, it was kind of hard for me to really get into the story of Sword of Legends. The game didn't really immerse me into the story as much like other MMORPGs can, so after being bored, I kind of just essentially just started skipping through the quests. Now, it's weird because I had to technically look on Google to see what exactly the story was, because the game was just, it was all over the place. Like, it was very difficult. I didn't really understand too much, and the cutscenes and how the way it would play out didn't really work. But I would get to the whole cutscene thing a little bit later in the video. For those who's looking to know exactly what the story is, focusing on the Chinese mythology and the better part of the Chinese culture a few hundred years ago. In the beginning, there was the creator of heaven and earth. Upon his death, Pingu's remains transformed into two substances that would then change the entire world: pure Qi and dark Qi. From the pure Qi came the gods of the good, like the virtuous Nuwa, the merciful Shenong, the god of death itself, Yama, and the god that would give humanity superhuman abilities and immortality, Fuxi. Birthed from the dark Qi was the plague goddess Jigul, and with her army of blight beasts and army of foul creatures from the shadows. Now, this story helps Western players get a little bit more in tune with the Chinese culture. So with the story out of the way, like I said, I had to do a little bit of extra research to figure out what was really going on in the game. Like I said, the cutscenes didn't really help with that, or even some of the dialogue. It was all over the place, very confused, very trying to figure it out. But let's jump right into the graphics of my first impressions. The character creation is actually pretty good. Some of the stuff you're actually allowed to create gives me a little bit of Black Desert vibes. Like, as MMOs get better throughout the years, the character creation becomes even more intense, and a little bit, you can literally create almost anything you actually want. And I love that about MMOs. We're coming from the back in the old days of MMOs like EverQuest and Star Wars, Knights of the Republic, World of Warcraft, the whole nine, where it's kind of just a more based down, real simplified character creator. You choose a class, you choose a race, call it a day. MMOs nowadays is kind of getting a little bit more intense with this on how everything plays and everything works, and I really love it. Like, you can really design almost anything in the character creator. Now, I did want to say one thing: the cinematic cutscenes are amazing. I really like the cinematic cutscenes. I do have a few gripes about these so-called cutscenes and character dialogues and stuff. It's a lot to talk about. There are multiple functions to changing your experience during gameplay, like changing how the actual look of the game goes. So you can change it from like an orange color, or they call it the classic color. You can definitely change. It's basically a filter that is being thrown on top of the game to give you a specific vibe or feel to be able to continue playing through the MMO. So the next on the list I want to talk about is the actual gameplay and the combat. Now, this is probably the biggest part of what makes Sword of Legends Sword of Legends. Now, cutscenes. Remember earlier in the video I was talking about how I had a few gripes about these cutscenes? Well, boy, let me tell you what, I have a lot of gripes about these cutscenes. So they are pretty interesting, to say the least. It just focuses on the character talking. So it kind of reminds me of some RPGs where it's like it's a more of a storytelling type of thing, but it shouldn't be like that because it's not, the game isn't built around that. It kind of gives me that weird Epic 7 vibes, but the game is based around that. Like that whole one character appears and there's a dialogue of text and they talk, and then the next character does talking. But picture that, which hopefully I should have it playing above me right now, of how that is, and the limbs aren't syncing together, the there's an entire dialogue of people talking, but the characters are just standing still, like there's no emotion in it. And my character keeps doing a weird emote in the middle of it, and it doesn't make too much sense. So with everything that I just said, it kind of makes it very difficult for me to get more immersed into the game and really understand the story, which, like I said before, couldn't even understand what in the world was going on. And I don't know, guys at Gameforge and Wing Shin, that's a long developer name, Wing Shin something. I need you guys to really work on that. Definitely, if you guys do a patch update, like it's weird. Now, keep in mind, this is my experience with it. Anybody else who plays Sword of Legends Online, if you experience these in the cutscenes, let me know in the comment section below. But if you with me in the same boat, let me know. Now, I can say one thing, and some of the cinematic fight scenes, it reminds me of like old kung fu movies, where it's like the whole over the top, flying around in the air. It's like a weird anime type of thing, but I get more of an old kung fu, like some of the old Jackie Chan movies, or the old I wouldn't even say much of Bruce Lee movies, but just some of those just old Chinese kung fu movies, like way like back in the day, that I used to watch when I was a kid. Another thing is the combat. So my first immediate thought during the combat phases of the tutorial and a little bit of beginning parts of the game, it is a 3D action system similar to Terra, and it made me feel somewhat comfortable since I played a lot of Terra. And anybody who has played Terra, you will feel literally right at home while playing Sword of Legends Online. And it does give me a little bit of Black Desert, but I'm leaning way more towards that Terra side, like that the enemy is gonna do an attack and you just gotta dodge out the way, and you're very hyperactive and you can circle around the enemies, do all of your skills and abilities. I guess because I'm a Reaper, I have like barely any cooldowns, which kind of worries me. I don't know if that's just part of the Reaper class or if every class set, but for some reason I have no cooldowns on any of my abilities. I couldn't tell you why. It's weird, but I like it. It kind of keeps it more fast paced and I don't have to worry about cooldowns. Or is that just a Reaper thing? I am still running through some of the Reaper training quests, so I'll see more as I go on. Another topic is mounts. So you actually get this flying sword that you ride on, and your character puts their hand behind her back. Like, it makes you really feel like you're this superhuman ability anime in a way, like this. Do you feel like a god, basically? You feel like you're this being that you're here to, come in, kick ass, take names. I love that. It reminds me of like World of Warcraft, that allows you to fly around to like different areas. Like, you can actually go up, down, you can boost, you can fly around with this sword. And then probably later in the game, you can get definitely more mounts. But right now, as of my experience for the first few hours, it's only the sword as my best friend right now. And it is that like added touch of immersion a little bit, just because you're technically using chi to, perfectly balance on it and fly it around, like, since it's like your mount and we're this superhuman, I got powers ability type of character. Now, another part of the combat is the auto lock system, which basically anytime you encounter a fight with any of the enemies, there will be these multiple dots that will lead you to the enemy, and it will keep you locked on, so you don't have to really lock onto them. And it will kind of keep you like centered around, which would then, of course, remind me of that Terra feel, where you can just keep circling an enemy, do all of your abilities, and string them all together. So it's definitely helped with the sidestepping mobs. And then another cool added feature, speaking of using the chi with your mounts, you can actually do double jumps, which you kind of glide through the air like you're this angelic being, and then you can immediately jump down. Like, it literally reminds me of like where Chinese superhuman gods and that type of feel. Like, you'll be seeing some gameplay up top of like me doing these set things, and it really feels fluid, really feels good. I feel like Sword of Legends really excel at just the gameplay part of things. Like I said, they do need to work on their story, and I don't know. The cutscenes is what kills me the most. That's my biggest like gripe that I have with Sword of Legends right now in my first few hours. Hopefully it fixes itself later in the game. If any one of you guys are actually further in the game, and like I said, if you experience anything that I'm speaking about, please let me know. Last couple things for the gameplay and the combat. There's a combo system, which is basically the more you attack, the more you string your abilities, you start to gain a combo of how many times you can string up a combo. I string up to like 5 or more before the enemies die, and most enemies aren't really that strong until I get further in the game, but I'm kind of destroying them pretty quickly. But I actually like that. That's another added feel of, like, I really love the feel of this, like the combo. You string them together, you can go multiple enemies, boom, 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 you hit them. I love it. It's definitely a fun time fighting. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I did choose the Reaper class, and I am having a lot of fun. Currently, I'm running through the Reaper quests and switching between Reaper quests and the actual main storyline quests to learn more about the game as much as I can, and of course, upgrade my abilities as is. Reaper is basically a DPS, and I have a couple damage dealing ones. I have a dot or damage over time ability, and I have a couple burst damage abilities as well. And string them together, I'm just a wrecking ball across the battlefield. I want to see if I can be able to run in PvP a few, when I get a couple levels up higher, and see how well a Reaper does in PvP. But like I said, I have checked out this game a long time, like when they first announced it, and I had to jump straight for the Reaper. If you guys have a specific class you wanted to play as, or if you're already playing the game, what class would you like? If you want to know all the classes, I would have them on screen up here to show you guys. But if you've already been playing the game, let me know what your experience is like with the other classes, how well do they play. I'd definitely like to talk with you guys in the comment section below. So last thing on my list I have is the sound of the game. It's going to be pretty short. So the sounds of the game, it's like this angelic Chinese music, like the tunes are like, you can hear all the instrumentals playing in the background. It's very peaceful and very relaxing. But as soon as you jump into battle, it ramps it up and it's highly intense. Sounds like, I couldn't even call it metal, but like sounds like very rock like it's definitely getting fast. Like whoever's playing the instruments, they're just going faster and making it more intense. And that puts me in like battle mode, and I definitely love that aspect of that they decided to have a soundtrack. Probably later in the game, there'll probably be more different OSTs, different sounds, all that good stuff. But I really, for where I'm at right now, the jumping into battle, getting that intense music, and then jumping out of battle will calm me down. I'm like, all right, I can vibe with Sword of Legends Online. Now, last but not least, I'm going to talk about my final thoughts about Sword of Legends Online. Right now, the gameplay and the combat is probably my favorite thing to do. It definitely reminds me of old school Terra back in the day, that jump in and out. That 3D is action based. It's like all action. There's no tab targeting, none of that nature. It's just straight to the point. Let's fight. Let's get it done. Let's rock and roll. The cutscenes, like I said, Game Forge, I cannot say the whole entire name. I will have it probably on screen by Future Chaos if you put it up there for me. I need you guys to work on the cutscenes. It has to, because it's definitely weird, and it's weird just having them just stand there. Their lips are literally completely not moving, and there's an entire conversation is happening. No one is talking, but there's just a conversation happening, and I can just hear people speaking that is supposed to be the characters, but the lips is not moving. I can't even say the lip sync is off. Like, the lips just don't move. And then you get some time in the games where the lips are moving, but it's not matching who's talking. And it's just this weird back and forth camera shots towards the characters, and it's just weird. That's my biggest gripe I have as a first impressions of just like the cutscenes kind of really kills the immersion for me. But once I jump into the actual gameplay and the combat, that's where I start feeling more immersed. I feel like I'm this super powerful being, this godlike figure, and I'm trying to rid the world of dark chi and destroy these dark people, all these monsters, these demons, whatever the case may be. The sound, the music, it really is very blissful, very peaceful. I love that one thing about that. It's just like, you can put me in this calm flow state, but then once it's time to, get it cracking and get the ball rolling, the music intensifies from there. Other than that, the story alone, like actually reading the story, I actually like that because I like looking at different mythologies or different cultures, like Greek mythology, Norse mythology, Chinese mythology. I love all that. So most of these gods I actually already know of, like Nua. I know of her, and a couple other Chinese mythology gods I know of, and it makes me fanboy a lot. So if you're a fan of mythologies, Definitely like the video. Let me know in the comment section what's your favorite mythology and why. I would have loved to get into these conversations with you guys if you made it this far into the video. With that being said, like I said, if you want to catch all the rest of my MMORPG first impressions, I'll leave a playlist in the top right hand corner. And if you want to check out any more of my RPG videos, I'll leave a card at the end of the video for you guys, and you can just hop right in. And as always, definitely make sure to subscribe. Definitely like the video so it helps me with the algorithm. Get this video out to anybody who actually wants to play Sword of Legends Online, because guess what? It is now free to play. The game used to cost like $20 or $40, one of the two back then, but it's now free to play as of their new update. And they're definitely working on a couple patches to fix the game. So hopefully they throw in the whole fixing the cutscenes, or at least attempt to, or anything. But other than that, the game is fine with me. I'm enjoying it. Will it be like my main driver? Sadly, no, because Lost Ark is kind of killing that one right now. But would I jump back and forth back with it? Yes, I will. I don't completely outright hate the game. The game is definitely just fun. Just hop in, kill things, level up, get some gear, hop back out. It's definitely one of those type of games for me. And as always, it's been your host, Chaos DTV, here at Chaotic Inc. Signing out. Peace.
Make a manifest. I don't sleep, that's so weak, don't plan to rest. I'm from a hood where you die if you don't pack a vest. No culinary degrees, but whipping crack the best. Chefing, hard times taught lessons. Praying every night to pull up in park Benzes. What's my home is what you call trenches. You wouldn't last a day seeing life through all lenses. It's all tension, no sun, and rain and plenty. Full-time job, still can never make a penny.